beautiful, lovely people. My name is Erin, and welcome back to Makeup and Mine. Today, we're going to be discussing episode 2. We have more into the murder, mystery, intrigue. We have secret love revealed, past love, history, and a huge cream bun incident. So if you haven't watched episode 2, please go do that because we are going to talk about everything that happens in this episode. So if you don't want it to be spoiled, please go watch it. I'm going to be doing my makeup just to give me something to do while I'm talking to you. So let's get into episode 2, Wings of Icarus. So this time I'm going to do it a little bit differently, going by character instead of going by chronological order of what happens in the episode. But I am going to start with what happens first, which is Mother Emma. So we obviously know from the first episode that there was some kind of incident at Credenza where someone died because she was at a funeral. So this time we find out that there were 2 people that had fallen, not just one. Dun dun dun. So thus begins that journey. First character that we are going to look into is Soo-hyuk, who is the 26-year-old son of So-hyun that has just returned from school because his grandfather is sick. So in this episode, which I forgot to mention in the first video, which was kind of a huge thing, so I apologize, but him and Miss Kim have a moment where they meet outside and they discuss that she had fallen asleep in his bed. If you recall, Miss Goldilocks fell asleep in his bed. So they're outside and they discuss it. Suggests that they switch rooms because she slept so well in his bed, right? And I think he maybe has a little bit of, he doesn't like his life, maybe? So he wants to sleep in her room. So they do switch beds, have a wonderful night's sleep, and in this episode's when they wake up. So they switch rooms. He's kind of thinking about her. It's lovely. She's thinking about him some, but she's also kind of like, why can't he sleep in this amazing bed? But whatever. They have their nights separate, but in each other's beds. So he gets very upset because there is a picture of him and his mother, who is not his stepmom, Soo-hyun. Him and his mother, who left, and we don't know where she's at. But he sees that the picture was put up when he had turned it face down. So he assumes that Miss Kim is the one that turned it up. He goes to her and basically gives her a stern talking to of there's a line that you don't cross. And this kind of keeps coming up with different people. So I think that's probably important. And she just kind of laughs it off. Also in this episode for Soo-hyuk, we are meeting his fiancée, the one that Big Mama set him up with. But he also knew her because it says they went to school together or something. So she comes to meet all of the women. She seems to be super high energy and perky. Her name is Arim. Arim? Yeah, Arim. Move on to the sister-in-law. So she is the mother, or I'm sorry, the daughter of Big Mama, sister of the oldest son. So she owns some bakeries, we find out. The dad gave her brother 3, I believe it was banks. And then she got bakeries, and she's like, why did he get banks and I got bakeries? But we find out that she owns these bakeries, which are probably a franchise because they said there's like 300 of them. So during the episode, there's some kind, the news is talking crap about their cream buns. that they aren't good or something happened. This is important because it gets put in the news, and then it is a huge ordeal because she goes and rips the staff up. She yells at them. She makes a scene. She throws cream buns everywhere. Not a good look, but it got videotaped. So it got leaked to the media, which turns out to be a big ordeal. Also, another part that happened in this episode with the sister is that she recognizes Miss Kang for kind of like a moment. She sees her walking through and she's like, "Don't I know you?" Which Miss Kang has got some secrets. So I'm wondering if she's maybe in some elite circle, but something happened and she's gone and now she's back. Also, Miss Kang has a moment with Big Mama where Big Mama hasn't seen her yet, right? Since she's been hired. So this is the first time that she sees her, and we don't know how yet, but obviously they know each other. Big Mama basically acts like she has seen a ghost. Like, what are you doing here? So there's obviously something there. Very exciting. We're peeling back that onion. Bit about the sister in this episode is her husband. So when she's getting called out on the media, she's kind of having a big fit. And he's kind of laughing about it because obviously they don't have an amazing relationship based on how things were the last time, right? So he kind of thinks it's funny that she's getting called out. And they're obviously not nice to each other. She throws things at him again. He gets hit. And he basically wants to get a divorce at this point. So that leads us into, let's talk about Miss Kang in this episode. So she's doing her thing. She's not quite as bad in this episode, but she obviously has some secrets. So where we left off in episode 1 was when Hisu had found her dancing in her dress, right? So the evening that happened, this is the next day. Hisu decides to take the high road and actually invites her to dinner. Invites her to have drinks. Is super nice. Basically says, let's get to know each other better. So that's what they do. They have drinks, and by the way, I'm doing I want to do a neutral light pink kind of look today with the eyes. I'm going to try to go with my regal look inspired by all the eliteness we are surrounded by in mine. Anyway, back to the story. So Hisu is having drinks with Miss Kang, and she discusses that she used to be in love with this guy. We don't know who that guy is. But she says that she used to be in love with this guy. Hisu's kind of asking her questions like, oh, what happened? Like, do you regret it? And she essentially says, which is telling, I probably think that this has something to do later. I don't watch any future episodes until I film, so I don't want to know what happens in future episodes yet. But she basically says she loved him to death, which, coming from Miss Kang, could literally mean to death. Not sure. There's also some very strange weirdness between Miss Kang and Ji Young, which is Hisu's husband, the second oldest son. Two interactions that are super strange. Like, everybody's gone. Hisu's gone. Ha Jun's asleep. And they're kind of passing each other, and she's like, is there anything I can do for you? Like, it seemed very suggestive. And he didn't take the bait, but kind of had this look like they may know each other. I also think that it is very strange that she's like this menacing character, right? Like, she acts like this is where she belongs. All this stuff should be hers, etc., etc. But she's very caring to Ha Jun. So in this episode, he writes down some rap lyrics, which she doesn't know are rap lyrics at first, and she kind of questions him about it and showing, like, care. which the head maid for Hisu kind of reveals, like, that Miss Kang has been walking around acting all weird, and Hisu kind of tells her keep an eye on her, and she reports back after she sees that she's, like, caring about Hajun, that she reports back that she seems to care about Hajun. So that's where we are with Miss Kang. And the second interaction with Ji Young and Miss Kang is at the very end, and they pass each other. It's kind of that same kind of moment, just the two of them passing each other, but they kind of bump shoulders at this point, and she smiles like she has got the biggest secret. So my spidey senses are saying something about potentially, I don't know how it would work, but what if she was Hajun's mom? Because they say that the mom died in a car accident, but I don't know. I feel like there's something maybe there. So we'll see in future episodes. Okay, so now we move on to our main two characters. They have the most obviously happening. So Hisu, so much to cover. We get a lot of background on her and Ji Young, her husband, in this episode. They met when she was in London. They were both in London. But he was working at a bookstore. So no indication that he was from all this money that they are from. So essentially showing us that it was like actual real love. It didn't have anything to do with money. She was kind of the more popular one. She was an actress that was kind of at the top of her game at that point. And she kind of says that she was kind of bored with the world when she met him, and that she was just literally struck by him. It was love at first sight. We also find out that they kind of skipped the whole engagement process that the family typically does, which I love this line. The sister-in-law basically says, yeah, that's a mark on our family, and Hisu says, I'm not a dark spot on your family, I'm a legend. Girl. Her and So-hyun are like running stuff, and they don't mess around, and I love it. Get it? Girl power, totally in mine. This super cute moment with her and the husband when she's been kind of drinking, and she goes in to see him, and he carries her to bed, and Miss Kang kind of sits there looking a little menacing. So that's also another reason why I think it's possible that there's something there. She stares at her wedding ring. Just some weirdness. But it does, I guess, establish for us that Ji Young and Hisu are, like, I guess, for all intents and purposes, as of episode 2, really in love. It wasn't like an arranged thing like So-hyun was from money, so she was marrying somebody with money. It wasn't like a business arrangement kind of deal is what they're establishing for us. So that's where we leave off with that. But like I said, there's some weirdness with Miss Kang and him, so we'll see how that pans out. We also find out a little bit more about what they do, like their jobs and stuff. So Hisu wants to do an art show of autistic kids, which is awesome, but she wants to do it at this gallery, but we come to find out that So-hyun actually runs a gallery. So it's a little bit scandalous, because it's like, why, if your sister-in-law owns a gallery, why are you going to this other gallery to do this showing? And Hisu and So-hyun kind of have a conversation about it, where, you know, Hisu's basically like, I didn't ask because I didn't think that you would let me. And So-hyun was like, why don't you ever think about other people? They have, you know, a bit of conversation about that. And it's a little bit obvious that, obviously, So-hyun cares a lot about what people think. And Hisu kind of just, you know, rolls with what's happening. We also have an important part where Hisu is talking to the maid about um, Miss Kang and how there's some talk going on. So the maid is basically like, you trust people too much, like you're too kind and caring. And Hisu says, I've always been that way, and people kind of adjust to not break my trust. Which that's kind of awesome, right? Like, and it's a great way to be if that's how you can be, and it's great that you've never been betrayed, but I have a feeling that might be coming. That's the drama. But probably an important piece for us to know. The thing with Hisu that we find out is that, or with the story with Hisu, is that there are some family rules, and one of them is no interviews. But Big Mama calls her in and wants her to do an interview because with the whole cream bun incident, the interviewers are wanting to talk specifically to Hisu. So they want her to go take it, and that's breaking one of the family rules, but they're breaking it because of this specific case. So she goes to the interview, and basically the interviewer asks about Haju. He says, we can bury the whole cream bun story if you tell us what's going on, since you have a 6-year-old son, or I mean, sorry, an 8-year-old son, but you've only been married for 6 years. Scandal! But she shuts that shit down, basically says, how would you feel if, or she says, you have a son or daughter, I think son, and she said, how would you feel if they're going to have to learn it this way? And essentially the reporter, I think, gets kind of put in his place with that whole thing. So, yeah, that came out as well. So now we are on to final part of the story in this episode with Miss So-hyun. So, so much in this episode for her, kind of. So she's obviously dealing with a marriage that was made of convenience. It wasn't a love marriage like Hisu and Ji-young have. It was because she was rich and she was marrying someone rich. So we find out that her husband likes to drink, likes to gamble, likes other women. They actually have a discussion about this, and she essentially tells him, just don't get caught. So she knows about it. She's just like, don't make it a big thing. And before they had been married, he had a wife prior to her who left him because of those discretions. So basically we're finding out that she knows, but it's not like they love each other. It's just a marriage of convenience. Whoo, that is some bright blush. Let's tame that down. Anyway, so moving on. She also was going to see Mother Emma, remember from the first episode. So she invites her to come to credenza. But when Mother Emma does come, So-hyun kind of blows it off and doesn't see her and just kind of sends her home. So not the greatest thing there, but that was also right when the cream bun thing was coming out as well. So I think she just kind of wasn't ready yet. We also find out that So-hyun, obviously with the art gallery stuff, we find out that she actually obviously owns the art gallery. We talked about that. But she started kind of in art, and that was her thing. And she wanted to be able to give art to people that were not only rich, but to everybody. So had very loyal intentions to begin with. And she obviously, art is kind of a big thing in her life, we learn from this episode. So-yoon's husband goes and gets wasted at a bar with the sister-in-law's husband, the one that wants to get divorced. He's just a mess. He is not having a good time. He literally gets wasted and comes home and tells So-hyun, like, don't look down on me. He throws things, makes a huge mess. It's kind of hilarious because he fell asleep on the floor, like in the crook of where the wall meets the floor. Scares Miss Ju to death. But it's kind of a funny scene. But at that point, like, it's obvious that, like, there's no love lost between them. I don't think she even likes him as a person. He doesn't really like her. And at that point, she goes and sees Mother Emma. Like, she actually goes to see her where she had blown her off when she came to Cadenza. So we find out during that meeting with Mother Emma, the person, so in the first episode, how we had the phone from Miss Ju that had been confiscated, that she was looking through, that she was like scared to death when she saw, we find out that the person she was meeting was actually, are you ready for it? A lady. I don't think that's necessarily a big deal here, but I'm assuming that it was a big deal there, and probably due to her elite status and all of that stuff, something that she felt like she had to hide. But that is revealed, and that's obviously the love of her life, who, and basically they say at that moment she stops deciding to hide that part of her. So we shall see what happens with that. But that was kind of one of those big moments. And this is why I love K-dramas, because, you know, like, so much was built up on that first episode of, like, who was this in the video that she was going to see. And I feel like in an American drama, that would have been drug out all season. Whereas here, episode 2, boom, we found out because there's so much else to reveal. So yeah, that was kind of one of the big reveals of the episode. Last thing I forgot to mention when I was talking about Miss Kang, there was this moment where she went off. Like, Miss Ju called her. Everybody was gone, so all of the maids were meeting up, and she called her to meet with them and basically say, we're going to do this and this and this. Miss Kang walks in, and she blows that place up. She basically says, do not, ooh, did you hear my voice? Do not call me for anything other than Jahoon. I'm not doing anything else. Don't boss me around. And that, my friends, was a moment. Those eyes, and everybody else in the scene was like, ooh, this lady. So that was a pretty big part I forgot to mention. I apologize. And that, how many times am I going to do this? And that, my friends, is essentially episode 2 in a nutshell. We're going to do a quick recap. I'm going to change into my outfit that was inspired by this episode, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so here is the final look inspired by this episode. I am super excited to see what's going to happen next. And yeah, I will see you soon. Join me for episode 3. Have a great day.